Hey, everyone out there in YouTube land, Dan here from GeekCast Radio, doing another comic book review. This time, we talking about The Magic Order, #1, a book that is getting a good deal of attention, in large part due to its connection to Netflix, being the first Mark Millar world connection, where this potentially may be a Netflix series one day. Perhaps are utilizing this comic book series as a backdoor pilot, maybe to see how successful it is, and think, okay, can this be a good Netflix show or not? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Netflix has a trillion different shows, so I don't know why they want to just try to make it. Though, based upon this first issue, it does seem like it might be a show that would cost much more than your typical Netflix series, potentially. But ultimately, the biggest question is the comic any good? And I would say I enjoyed it. I do have some caveats in some issues with this first issue that I think do impact it. It's not a first issue that blew me away, that I'm like, oh, this would be amazing. I can't wait to see this Netflix series. There are pieces that I think have a lot of potential, and I do really love Olivier Coipel's art. I think that is effective throughout, but there are some problems, or at least there are some things that are have me hesitant, or at least are not hitting me as much as I would like them to. But I will say the opening to this was phenomenal. To me, it was the height of the book, and I will try to avoid major spoilers to this for people who maybe have not read it. But this first opening sequence is just ultra creepy, and I don't want to give it that much away, but just that sequence of just the child with darkened eyes, telling her his mother to be quiet because of a murder that occurs, and I don't want to give that page away, but right from the start, I'm like, wow, it's got a great intense atmosphere, and it's got a creepy vibe to it. I'm like, okay, well, liking where this is going, we'll see where this progresses. And right after that, though, we get a little bit of a shift. We start getting introduced to many of these characters. This first one being this woman who seems to be an escape artist. Right away, we know that she seems to be a little rebellious, being in the back of a police car, but she doesn't seem to mind it that much. She is more very nonchalant about it. It's like, all right, whatever. And it may be because very soon she ends up disappearing, and she's no longer there, and she's gone, just with the handcuffs left and around. And we see in the next page over that this is a world in where magic does exist, but the magicians still put on their classic magic shows. It seems like the world is not aware that magic exists, and they're doing some of those infamous tricks that we've seen before. In this case, being shot by a gun and catching the bullet in your teeth. But we get a little line that he didn't catch it with his teeth. He actually got shot in his Kevlar vest, but he had it there, I guess, the entire time. This does make me wonder, though. It's like, what if she shot you in the head? Like, you're really hoping that she at least has really bad aim, or at least is aiming low, because it's putting a lot of trust in that. Looks like an 80-year-old woman with a rather large gun. But, it's I guess that's the fun of it, maybe. But it's a very seedy kind of, like, it feels like Las Vegas in like the 1970s with all the the smoke. You can almost feel it off the page, and we get to learn more about this world, and this murder that begins at the very opening is the kind of the thing that lays within the comic moving forward. And you see a funeral sequence where the different magicians are gathering, and there appears to be this order of magicians that are very shocked that something like this would occur, that one of their own was able to be taken out in his own home like it was, or something that's never really happened before. And there's a lot of suspicion to why exactly this is occurring and who might be the one behind it. And we think that maybe those people were daring enough to even show up. This other sect of magicians looking all, very mysterious with their mask and their great fedoras. I mean, if we get more fedoras in a book like this, I'm all for fedoras. It can never have enough fedoras in one comic, so that is a big plus for this book right off the start. But it seems like there is this huge rivalry between these different sects of magicians, and they believe this other group has been trying to usurp their power, and now they're kind of enacting the plan that they've been waiting to enact for some time. And the one thing I think that I struggled with this issue is that we do get a lot of different characters, and we get introduced to them right away. And many of them don't seem all that different from one another. It was hard to keep kind of them track. There were some great instances of them giving a lot of information or Olivier Coipel in a short distance, but with, like, even on the cover, you see 4 different characters. I don't feel like I could really tell you much more about most of these characters outside of some just bare bones things, but this is also a first issue. So that's, you got many more issues to go, but that's like when I read a first issue, there's kind of a couple things I look for. Mostly, I want to have some characters that I can care about, characters that I can get invested in, and this to me, like they have some characters I could see being pretty interesting moving forward, but we just kind of get little snippets of them here and there, and we get to see that these magicians at one time must have saved the world from this gigantic creature or different creatures, and now though the force that's coming to destroy the world may be coming from the inside. But I do gotta say I do love this one page that we get from one of the characters just getting into his history and just how much is told there in just a short period of time in just a few panels. Just really, that's kind of a devastating imagery within just one page. This father and daughter, and just seeing kind of the toll it is laid on him right from the start. So easy to get invested, obviously, into a character when you know it's cost him the life of a child. That's um, it's a a quick way to get you to have sympathy for someone for sure. Now the question is, can the series continue and earn that sympathy moving forward? And I do like the world that it's building. This idea of with this almost noirish type of feel to it, but dealing with magic rather than crime at the center of it. It is a crime mystery. It's a murder mystery that just involves magic, and we get some instances of who might be behind it and what's occurring. And with that, that's why I think I am intrigued to read the next issue. And that's usually the key thing I look for is intrigue with the first issue. Is there things that I can get invested in? Is there enough built in within this issue that I feel like I am interested in moving forward with it? The world seems like it has pieces that could potentially lead to something good. The characters are different enough that I can see that I can get little of the archetypes here and there that they can fit into, but perhaps Miller can expand upon that and make them deeper and more interesting characters. And I think I do like magic when it's done well. I do actually am a big fan of the Harry Potter movies. I've not read many of the books, but if this can kind of exist in more of a mature type of realm, that could actually be effective. And Olivier Coipel's art, like I mentioned, is a big selling point. Like Mark Millar, to me, as a writer, he in these last, I feel, few years has really showed he has much more range than I think people realize he did. When he was writing for Marvel, he had a lot of good series. Old Man Logan. I do like the Ultimates, but at times his sense of humor doesn't always work for me. Like it can be a little juvenile, might be too strong of a word, but at least it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and I feel like it detracts from many of the stories he's telling. But with stories with comics like Jupiter's Legacy, with Huck, for example, where he created this great, really tender and genuine character that I was like, wow, this is not the Mark Millar that I remember. There's a maturity here. There is a range that I was not expecting. And if like I didn't know Mark Millar's name was on this, if I just picked it up and read it, I necessarily wouldn't 100% tie it to his voice. Like there are certain writers where you feel their voice when you're reading their book, like a Brian Michael Bendis, for example, for better or worse, you can tell when you're reading a Bendis book in most cases. Sometimes that makes it great. Sometimes that can get dragged for it, depending upon what the subject matter is. For this, I think it's helpful because you have this variety of different characters that it doesn't feel like it's coming from the same person. Everyone seems like they have their own unique personality. Doesn't seem like it is coming from all the same perspective, which is a good indication of what's to come. Uh, I just wanted a little bit more to really invest and care about. I like the idea of where this could go, but I feel like if anything, by having that many different characters, by having all this happening, all the world building along with that, I don't as much invested on more of a personal side that I would like for a first issue. For me, I prefer first issues that are really character first, and then just kind of build in the world later. Let me know who these people are and why I should care, and then give us all the background. But I get why for some people they want to know more in forefront, like what is this world? Why is it the Magic Word Order? And for those, I think you get a lot more with this. So I think it's a successful first issue that just it's not something that for me would blow my socks off. Or it's like, oh, this is going to be huge. It's the best new comic to come out. I think I've read better first issues from Mark Millar and better first issues from Image as of late. But your first issue isn't, that's why you get more. And sometimes there are series that are better in trade. There are series that are the second issue might keep going and get better and better. As I said, if these characters can be built properly and this mystery can continue in intriguing and eventful way, this could be a great book. And so I do have faith that, like Mark Millar's had a lot of books recently that started off really good that didn't necessarily finish as strong. Like I loved Huck, but the last issues or so didn't hook me as much as the first issue. Once the mystery started being solved, I wasn't as intrigued. Chrononauts started off really well, but eventually, kind of by the end, it wasn't as strong for me. Hopefully, this will be the backwards, where it starts off okay, but gets better as it goes on. And and if you're a speculator, I don't know much about comics when it comes to investing in them for financial means, but I do know if you're interested in this and you have anyone want to read this before it goes to trade, you might be limited on the amount of time because they are not doing any reprints of this. So if you want to get a physical copy after a certain while of time, it might be more and more difficult as stores only have a limited shelf life. Would be my guess. I know the store I went to pick this up. Even I went this weekend, it still had a number of these left. So maybe stores ordered a huge amount, knowing they could return some of them. But I could see like this, if this does catch on, maybe it will become something special. But the thing is, we're so polluted with so many options. Even if something does become a Netflix series, unless it's something special like a Stranger Things, like there are like 8,000 Netflix series, so it's easy for things to kind of get lost in there that doesn't end up becoming much of anything. But maybe having somewhat of a background, having a built-in fan base, even if it's relatively new, could cause the series to end up. It's almost like it's a huge advertising ploy. But if you get a good comic out of it, it actually could be meaning something. So, it's so for those worried that this would be nothing but a cash grab, that doesn't really matter much. I do feel like there is a lot of Olivier Coipel went all out. I think Millar's trying something here. This isn't just trying to cash something in and try to make a show out of it. There's a lot of care put into this. Maybe not everything is hitting on all cylinders, but I am going to keep going with it. Hopefully do some more reviews of it. If you've read the Magic Order, I'd be interested to hear what your opinions of it. Do you have any interest? Does it being attached to a Netflix series make you more likely or less likely to pick it up? Do you think you'll watch the series if it ever comes out? Or what are your opinions of Mark Millar as a writer overall? Have you read his Marvel stuff or his recent stuff? Or is he a person that you tend to read everything he does, or do you tend to stay away? But let me know in the comments below. But that's it for me. If you want to check out more from me, check out my podcast, Comic Concierge. Typically drops every Monday and Wednesday, and more videos like GeekCast Radio. But for now, remember that comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.